Thank you, Mr President. My question is directed to the Minister for Ageing, Minister for Disability Services and Minister for Multiculturalism. Can the Minister please update the House about the redevelopment of the Hunter large residential centres?
Mr President, I thank the honourable member for his question. President, I know that as Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier for the Central Coast and Hunter, the Honourable Scott MacDonald has a deep interest in this redevelopment and ensuring that people with disability have the right to live within the community they choose. Mr President, in 1998, the Honourable Phalo Pope, a former Labor member of this place, announced a 12-year plan to close all residential centres in New South Wales by 2010. Several years later, in 2001, the Honourable Carmel Tebbutt announced that the then Labor government, and I quote, was committed to the phased closure of all large residential centres like the Stockton Centre, which are old and unsuitable and cannot conform to the requirements of the Disability Services Act. Mr President, on Saturday I was delighted to announce a key milestone in a project that has taken a very long time to come to fruition. The New South Wales Government is seeking expressions of interest from non-government organisations to build and operate disability housing to replace the remaining large residential centres in the Hunter region. Mr President, to quote the Premier, Mike Baird, one of the hallmarks of this government will be the manner in which it treats people in our society who are the most vulnerable. Close quote. The redevelopment of large institutionalised accommodation in the Hunter region fulfils the government's promise to provide everyone in the Hunter residents with new homes, their homes in the location of their choice. This is a promise that has been made by many governments over many years, and I'm humbled that this is the government that is delivering on this long-standing commitment to the most vulnerable. As part of this EOI, this government is again leading the nation on the implementation of person-centred funding, establishing our own user cost of capital. We'll provide a funding subsidy, a user cost of capital, to successful tenderers for up to 3 years as an interim to the proposed NDIS user cost of capital. This subsidy will encourage the construction of new disability housing in the future by providing an income stream to finance the development of new accommodation by the non-government sector. Mr President, the government has no preconceived ideas about what we want to see coming back in this EOI. We want the non-government sector to demonstrate their excellence in the provision of flexible, efficient, innovative and effective housing for people with disability. Through this redevelopment, people with disability will have the opportunity to choose their place of residence, choose the people they live with, be closer to their families and integrate more with the community. Mr President, one would assume that the Deputy President, one would assume that the Shadow Minister for Disability Services would be completely on board with what her government had previously started in 1998. One would assume she'd be on board with this, instead of continually whinging and complaining.
You did, but selling them to our mates, like you did. I call the Honourable Sophie Cotzes to order for the first time.
Mr President, as was made public over the weekend, moving from institutional accommodation to a new group home is a challenging time for all involved. And I'd like to thank the hard-working ADIC staff who were tireless in their devotion to their clients throughout this process. Mr President, for those of us who've been to large residential centres, you immediately know that the supports provided there no longer meet contemporary standards, and they do not comply with the Disability Services Act 1993.
Minister's time has expired. Mr Scott MacDonald on a supplementary question.
Would the Minister elucidate his answer? He's unable to.
Minister.
Thank you.
We didn't.
Mr President, as I was indicated, large residential centres do not comply with the Disability Services Act 1993, nor the Disability Inclusion Act 2014, or the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The Convention requires the government move residents from large institutional settings into provide purpose-built accommodation in locations according to their needs and wishes. That is why this government is 100% committed to the closure of these institutions by 2018. Mr. President, the announcement I made builds on the foundation funding that was set in the 2014 and 2015-16 budgets to fund the land banking that this redevelopment requires. Mr. President, this is a big day for the disability sector. The New South Wales Government is demonstrating its commitment to ensuring that people with disability live in homes in the community, which allows them to reach their full potential. EOI submissions open on Tuesday the 20th October and close at 2 p.m. 17 November 2015. And if any member of this House would like further information, they should visit tenders.nsw.gov.au. Mr. President, unfortunately, as we've come to expect, those announcements are not warmly welcomed by those opposite, who clearly do not want to work with people with disability for their future. That is absolutely clear.